Hey boys, welcome back to the channel where we're going to be going over the round four preview. We've had Origin. We're only I'm doing this on what day is it? Yeah, Thursday. Thursday night. It feels strange because there was no NRL. Obviously, the women's state of origin, which Queensland did end up winning. It was a pretty good game of footy. Honestly, the women's game is definitely coming on leaps and bounds, but there's more to glean after Origin. It's still obviously a lot up in the air of like what can happen this week, but I think we have a better idea of who potentially will get rested and who I think will most likely play. So I'm going to quickly run through my team, have a look at the players who played Origin and if I think they'll back up or not, and then go through the trades that I am looking at. So dummy halves, Harry Grant. I do expect Grant to back up. They play the Sunday afternoon, 4 o'clock. He did play big minutes. I think he came on like the 25th minute or so. So he played 55 straight in the middle, which is, you know, it's not 80. It's not 80 minutes, but it is a fair chunk for him. I was thinking, yeah, he came on probably earlier than I was expecting, but probably a good thing he did come on. I think he was excellent. But I do think Grant backs up, right? I mean, the Storm, they don't have Brandon Smith of the last couple of years. You know, they've got Garlic, they got Tyron Wishart. They do have a couple of options there, but let's be real. They need Harry Grant to back up. They are taking on the Cowboys. The Cowboys have not been good, but it is at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. So tougher game going up to Townsville. So I think Storm need Grant. He might play reduced. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he plays reduced minutes, but I'd be surprised if Grant doesn't back up. Like there was no obvious knocks or anything like that. I'm sure there are bumps and bruises after a game like that, but he looked like he got through pretty unscathed, and I would think he would back up. So front row forward, we're sitting pretty there. No one in Origin. The second row, so Dave Fafita, he is. It's another tough one because they play. I mean, playing the Rabbits on the Saturday late afternoon, tough game. They definitely need Fafita, but at the same time, he played 70 minutes. He had a head knock in that game, which is sort of, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, because obviously a head knock, you'd probably want to rest the player, but with the head knock, he had more of a spell. He didn't have to play the full 80. So I don't know. I mean, the form Fafita's in, the fitness he's shown, I think he's probably the one guy I think may get rested. It's just, I mean, if he was playing for any other team that's going half decently, I mean, the Titans are going okay, but yeah, it's a tough one. I think the amount of minutes he played, he would be the guy I would think could get rested. And I gotta be honest, at 942,000, you could definitely make some cash trading for Fafita to anybody, because even if he's not rested, like I'd be pretty shocked if he played the full 80 minutes, and that's not necessarily a bad thing for his scoring. I mean, in 60 minutes he can score 80 points, right? He's that devastating, but without the 80 minutes, with the potential restings, I don't know. I was very keen on just holding Fafita throughout the whole Origin campaign, but the fact he started and the fact he was going to play 80 minutes, I would expect. It's got me second guessing if you actually want to hold him, because I mean, if you just look at Fafita, I mean, it's one of those ones that it could be a masterstroke getting rid of him, because, you know, trading a guy out who has got 4 tons on the trot, and even I mean, look at the scoring, man. Like, from even first game, 83, 69, 49. The first 3 weeks were a little bit downish, even though round 1 was good. From round 4, 96, 76, 82, 84, 114, 100, 111, 116. Insane. But again, he's played 80 minutes in all those games, apart from the low Storm game. I don't know what happened there. I don't remember that game. And then Manly, he played 4 less minutes. He still cracked a ton though. So, if he plays 60 minutes, he could easily start getting 50s and 60s again, and his price would drop very quickly. So, and let's just look again. I mean, the Titans, it's a funny one because they don't cover the buys well, but it's sort of good for Origin players because, so they play 14, they play 15, they don't play 16, but he would have been away through Origin anyway. But then they play 17, they play 18, they do cover 19, but obviously he won't be there. And then they do play the 20, so the backup game. So it's somewhat good for Origin players, but also not, because they cover all the games preceding all the games after Origin, but surely he gets reduced minutes. Like they can't keep playing him 80 minutes after almost 80 minutes in Origin, right? So I think it's going to be I don't know. Do you sell him? It's a tricky one. I mean, Rabbits this week should be a tough game. Tigers. I mean, the Tigers' edge. I mean, you're going up against either Johnny Bateman or Isaiah Papali'i. It's not the easiest matchup. Then the bye. Then you got Broncos, Canberra, Dolphins, Parramatta, Roosters. It's a bit of a tough draw coming up. I mean, he's shown he's pretty matchup proof, but the Titans, they haven't had too many tough games. I mean, yeah, they have had a pretty good draw, haven't they? Like Parramatta, he still cracked a ton. Manly, up and down, but yeah, it has been a pretty good draw. So I don't know. You can make so much cash getting rid of Fafita. I honestly, part of me is like not hoping he gets ruled out, but I don't know. It would go a long way, but yeah, that's a tricky one. Tyrone Peachy, obviously not playing Origin, but he's also one to keep an eye on with potential droppings of Tungo coming back in. And I would expect, I mean, Brian To'o, I think would back up. Stephen Crichton, I think would back up as well. I mean, I don't know. Maybe copped a few bumps, so maybe they rest him, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. The halfbacks, Nico Hines, I mean, he'll definitely back up. Played 10 minutes. Just shambolic selection and shambolic decision with the interchanging. Nathan Cleary, I do expect him to back up now. I mean, obviously there's the toothache issue, so I don't know if it's giving him a lot of grief. Maybe Cleary does rest him, but I mean it's such a fucking perfect game, right? Like after being absolutely dog shit in Origin, it's such a perfect game. Like they have the longest backup taking on the Dragons, so Cleary can come out. They can put a masterclass on the Dragons, and everything will be forgiven for Nathan Cleary. So I think he'll back up. I would be pretty shocked if he doesn't. So the halfbacks, I'm confident. Then the back line. So we've only got Val Holmes. Again, I always thought Val Holmes would back up. I mean, he was pretty solid. A couple of poor missed tackles, but he looked very dangerous in attack. So I think Val Holmes we're going to keep a hold of. I mean, I don't know. The young guys on debut last week, Labert and I can't remember the winger's name. I'm blanking, but Labert, who replaced Holmes, is actually pretty solid. So there's a chance that Holmes does get rested, and they just keep the young guy Labert there. But I think they need Holmes to back up, and I think he would want to as well. So yeah, overall, I think the Origin players we have will. Apart from Fafita, who is the interesting one. Now, there is a lot of options this week, I feel like. There's so many good options for the buys coming up that are all like pretty well priced. In the back row, there's a couple of good ones. There's a couple of more expensive ones, but I mean, we're selling in 950k players, so we can get anyone in the back row for substantially cheaper. And then the back line. So, yeah, we're definitely going to make 2 trades. Jack Bird, got to go. He's missing the next couple of games. It could be longer. So, he's got to go. Disappointing, but it is what it is. I was thinking... I just had a thought there. We could trade Bird, swing Peachy down to centre wing, and trade Bird for a second rower. But it doesn't really make a difference because we potentially have to get rid of Peachy anyway. So, does it make a difference? No, I don't think it really does. Does it? No, because we want there's more centre wing candidates to bring in. So my initial play is Jack Bird gone for... I think the best option is Jareem Buller. I do think Buller... Actually, we can't do it like this. We got to swing Taruva up into centre wing because Buller is only a fullback. So Jareem Buller, he's coming off a big... What do you get? Like 120. He's got a negative break even. He covers the buys nicely. And he's been very solid. Like, obviously, the big ton helps the average, but regardless of that, like, I wanted to bring him in. It just... The trades I made outside of Buller just were more pressing at the time, I think. And but I still think he's really good value to bring in. Obviously, I've missed the 250k price rise initially, but I do still think he's a good purchase this week. You can't look. It's not like it isn't the fucking stock market, dude. I know sometimes people get too bound up in the prices of players. I mean, we're still making the Bird to Buller. We're still making 130 off that trade. So now we got 230 in the bank. Buller's going to go up a ton of cash still, and a good buy option play because they've got Canberra this week, which honestly it's not a bad matchup. I know Canberra have been good at times, but I think I'm still not sold on Canberra, even though they had a few wins on the trot. Then they got Gold Coast, then Storm in the bye, which is pretty good. No Munster, no Grants. Anyone else? No, they're only missing those 2. Yeah, only those 2 at the moment, but I mean, it's big. There are a couple of big losses for sure. They don't cover 17, which is a little bit of a tricky one, but then 18 Cowboys, 19 the next bye against the Sharks, which will be a tough one. And then the backup game against Newcastle. So it's a really good run for the Tigers, and I think Buller is just a really good play. Because again, yes, there are a couple of good fullback options for the buys, because we'll have a quick look now at fullback options for the upcoming buys, because there are a couple for sure, but I just think Buller is the best value out of them, because if we look, Azarko Azarko is still very tempting, and honestly with the money we've made, I don't know, maybe we can swing Azarko in, but Azarko, the Dolphins do, again, still have such a good buy coverage. You'd want to get him in the centre wing, primarily, but obviously he's fullback centre wing. But, the scores, they've been good. I just feel like, dude, look at this run here. 44, 63, 64, 62. That's still really good, right? It's still really good scoring, but it's not over 700k scoring. So he can go on a run where the tries will dry up. But the Warriors, tough game over in New Zealand. Then they got Manly in 15, which could be anything. They don't play 16, so that's a tricky one. But I think we have pretty good numbers for 16 anyway, so it's not that pressing. Parramatta in 17, which would be tough. Broncos in 18 should be a tough game. And then they play 19 against Gold Coast, which would be a pretty good matchup for Azarko. But that's a fair way away, and then Penrith after the backup. So, yeah, Azarko, I see the merit of still getting Azarko in, but I just think there's better options. Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards, 800,000. He's almost as expensive as Latrell Mitchell. He's averaging 77 for the year. It's funny how the cash works sometimes. I mean, he's averaging just slightly more than Walsh, but he's 150k more. He's averaging, a tick less than Azarko. He's 100k more than Azarko. It's just when you score the points, like the money can swing so quickly either or, because he had a couple of massive scores that bumped him. Like he's just been such a Dylan Edwards performer for the bulk of the season. Like 49, 42, 82, big one there, 57, then 163, which that'll do it. That'll get the cash gen going. And then back to his usual self, 65, 72, 54. Then a big one, 122 against the Warriors, which bumped him up hugely again. And then, back down a bit, 62, and then an 80 against the Bronx. They cover nicely. They actually cover really nicely, because 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, no 19, but then still 20. So I couldn't do it. I couldn't get Dylan Edwards in, but if you got plenty of cash rolling around and maybe you had Tom Trebojevic, I don't know. I could see the merit in going to Dylan Edwards, just with potential restings. You would think he would try to get even more involved. He, as much as people like to say Dylan Edwards is better than Tedesco, they are pretty similar players. Like Dylan Edwards, he's a tackle breaker, he's a run machine. The Penrith attack is just looking a bit slicker, so he's just getting a few more attacking stats. Reece Walsh, Will Kennedy is obviously a potential. The Sharkies have a really good buy coverage coming up. He's been pretty solid. Yeah, he's been really solid. I mean, he's 700k, so obviously he scored well. He hasn't had too many. He's had no real low ones. I mean, the 45 is his lowest score, which is pretty good. Considering Kennedy is not really a base stat type of fullback. They got Broncos this round. Could be tricky game potentially, but the Broncos, a lot of players backing up, maybe a bit flat if they rest a couple. You never know. 15, they got Melbourne. They play the Doggies in the bye. Don't play 17, Dragons, Tigers, Warriors, Manly. It's good. It's definitely a good draw. But again, I still think I'd rather the Buller play. Probably doesn't have the consistent upside of a Kennedy. Well, I would say definitely doesn't, but he does have the upside of Kennedy, and he's shown he's got good base stats, so I like it. Drinkwater, 700k. The Cowboys have a pretty tough draw coming up. I know he can do it against the better teams. Like, he can be matchup proof, but yeah, I mean, if we look at his previous games against good teams, I mean, Canberra, I guess, 59. Warriors been good this year, 49. Dolphins, he got a 70. Sharkies only 44. Roosters 54. And then Dragons, West, he went well. And then Parramatta, he fucking went bonkers. But yeah, he's got Melbourne. They don't play 15. Then Penrith, Rabbitohs. Well, Penrith will be without their origin players, so that's actually not terrible for him. And then they don't play 19. The Cows actually don't. If you didn't get him in last week, you probably aren't looking to bring Cowboys players in now. They don't cover. Yeah, they have a bye next week, and then they don't cover 19. It's not the end of the world if you want to bring him in, but not the greatest coverage. And then, there's a couple other potentials. I mean, Charnsey. I'm still potentially looking at Charnsey in the center wing. Like, he's just been really consistent, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe after round 16, if he hasn't absolutely skyrocketed in price, maybe. And then I guess Nick Meaney's the other guy who you can also pick up in center wing. So we'll have a better look at him in center wing. But he's been really solid. He's still got the goal kicking. The Storm, it's going to be a little tricky. Like, he covers the buys pretty nicely now, but obviously in 16, taking on the Tigers without the main guys there, you can't see too many points coming for them. And even this week, I mean, Cowboys, you never know. Sharkies should be tough. And then Manly, Penrith, Roosters, they don't play 19. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think Buller is sort of the play there. So, who is our other trade? Now, I was thinking that, well, it was going to be Croker. It was definitely going to be Croker. But, I mean, if Dave Fafita is... I mean, even if he's not ruled out, like, if we look at how much money we got, we're not quite going to have enough here. 650k, we can't quite get your top line plays, but there's definitely some really good value plays in the center wing. But yeah, we can't get a Zarko, we can't get Ronnie, which are probably the two that I would want the most. Nick Meaney is also a little bit out of reach, but I don't know, I'm a little bit worried about them over the period without Munster and Grant anyway. Isaac Tungo, I mean, it's annoying that Tungo's break-even's like 150, so you don't have to jump on Tungo straight away. I think Tungo's going to be a great pickup when he's back because he's going to drop some cash, and I just think he's going to be a good play for the run home. The Panthers cover pretty nicely, so I'm definitely looking at Tungo, but he's gonna lose a bulk amount of cash if he plays this week regardless. Who else? Talakai. Talakai is probably the man I'm most leaning towards. I actually thought he wasn't quite this expensive, but yeah, 640k. He's averaged over 60 this year. He's sort of gone. He's gone a bit under the radar. He's only in 2% of teams. Lowest score of 37. You know, he's been... Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say underwhelming. I mean, he would sort of be the Jack Bird replacement, so to speak. Like, obviously, he's playing center and Bird was playing in the forwards. But, you know, a lot of base, a lot of tackle busting. And he has the potential to go ballistic. They have a pretty good draw. I know we just went through the Kennedy draw. It's okay. And honestly, I mean, for 16, Nico Hines, sure, like, I feel like Freddie's going to fuck us over because I feel like I mean, who knows what he's going to do? He might just fucking say stuff is all, I'm just doing what I think's best and not listen to outside talk. But I feel like he might bring Burton into the 17 and put Nico Hines as the 18th man, which would be, oh man, it'd be so annoying. Personally, I think just have another 18th man. I know it's harsh on Nico, but if he's not going to start, then he shouldn't be in the team on the bench. So we could possibly have Nico Hines for 16 and 19, which would definitely bump up the Sharkies players. But I do like Talakai, definitely like Talakai. Who else is a potential? I mean, Dave Nofaluma. He's starting to get a little bit of form, if we're being honest, old Nofa. Fucking Stafford Toa. Stafford Toa absolutely destroyed an Origin Centre the other week. 152 points, if you don't mind. How have his scores been regardless? I mean, that's been okay. Take off the first 3 games he played. One of them was obviously injury affected. 53, 83, 47, 40, 58, 152. Yeah, it's just a bit of an outlier if we're being honest. But he looked good. Like, he looked really good. If he had the balls to jump on, maybe he's just found his confidence and it's just the attacking weapon. But yeah, I wouldn't do it. Who else is a potential? I mean, again, Chansey. But the only problem with Chans, they don't play 16, which isn't necessarily that bad. I gotta look again to how many players they'll have for 16 because I wouldn't hate bringing in Chans. Like, They play Dolphins, Raiders, Dragons after their bye. Rabbitohs in 18 tough, and then I guess Parramatta in 19 is a tough bye game because Parramatta are going to be pretty strong, and then Sharks in 20. So it's not the best, but it definitely covers nicely. Isaiah Tass coming out with a big one. I mean, Sione Katoa could be a bit of a flyer. He's been a bit underwhelming this year. Like, I don't know, he's just not getting the tries he usually does, but surely he goes on a bit of a run soon. Like, he hasn't cracked a ton all year. You could do worse taking a flyer on a Katoa, because he can just click into gear and score a few tries on the trot. So I don't think I'd have the guts to do it, because he's just had too many low scores in his games this year. He's dropped 100k from his peak already. Probably going to go down more. Jesse Ramian. Ramian is another guy. I mean, it's sort of just the right hand attack this year just hasn't really clicked, because I don't think he's had really a big score. He had the 120. Who do you have that against? The Dragons. But yeah, not much else in between. A couple of over 60s, but then plenty under 40, around that 30 to 40. So don't particularly like Jesse Ramian. Jacob Kiraz, we were going down to him, but Kiraz is probably he's the obvious choice, right? Like, he's at a really good price. His break even, I think, is about 60. So it's not pressing. You have to get Kiraz in this week, but I mean, pretty much going sideways from Croker to Kiraz seems pretty good. And they cover very nicely. I mean, it's a tough game against the Roosters this week, you would think. Parramatta, tough game. Sharkies, tough game. They don't play 17. Newcastle. Honestly, it's a tough draw, dude. It's a tough draw for the doggies coming up. So, I don't know. I feel like maybe give Kiraz another week. But if I'm not getting in a centre, I feel like I have to make another trade. I don't have to. I could save one, but if we look at Dave Fafita, do you take the Pottish play? Look at the 1.17 milli. We go, oh baby. I mean, look at that dude, Hopgood. Hopgood is averaging look at the fucking dude. I mean, Fafita is just on another level from every other second rower this year. He's averaging like fucking 20 points more. Big Tino is killing it, but he's a mile behind. But I just feel like Fafita is going to regress slightly. I don't know. Over this period, I feel like it could be a really astute trade out, because should see less minutes, potentially rested. He might still kill it. Like, maybe he's like the form and the fitness, like he's on another level, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Britton Nakora is obviously a very good trade-in. Ryan Madison is also a great trade-in. Hopgood, well, Madison's out injured, so no. Hopgood's on a bye, otherwise he'd be a good one. But then anyone else, I mean, I don't know. Probably, I mean, Keon Kalamatangi is very tempting, I've got to be honest. He's dropped 78k now. He was killing it. He was absolutely killing it to start the year. 80, 62, 104, 72, 58, 71. And then the injury affected game. And then he got 51 in his game back. And he's got the Gold Coast Dragons bye in 16. But the problem with Kalamatangi is that if he kills it, I feel like he will go straight into the I would be putting Kalamatangi straight into that Origin team if he comes back and has a couple of good games. So I think for that reason I'm going to steer clear of Kalamatangi. You can probably wait till round 17 because they have the bye in round 16. Kalamatangi could be a great 17 pickup if he doesn't make Origin, but yeah, don't hate it. Angus Crichton, I mean, I was expecting Crichton to be an option around this time of year, but he's still getting played off the bench, so yeah, you just can't go there. What is he's still averaging like 40 odd. What are the minutes even like? I mean, 60. He's getting 60 minutes. He only played 30 against the Dragons. What the hell went on there? I don't know. But yeah, you can't go there, obviously. 60 minutes. But then we go down. So Johnny Bateman is piquing my interest. I mean, honestly, Jacob Preston, bringing Preston back, I don't hate either, but I probably wouldn't. John Bateman, though, he's averaging 61 for the year. He has dropped 36k from his starting price, but he's been pretty solid. I mean, his first game, 67 minutes, 36 points. The rest of them, I mean, 58 minutes, he only got 38 against the Bronx. Didn't play the full game, but then 80 minutes games, 95, 77, 41, 53, 59, 88. I mean, it's taking away those 230s. Like, yeah, a couple of lowish scores, but that's every second rower. Like, he's got some ceiling to him. And again, I don't mind the Tigers' draw. So, honestly, I like Bateman, and I also like Isaiah Papali'i. Although Papali'i, you'd probably say Papali'i has better base than Bateman, but the attacking upside this year hasn't really been there. He's probably safer to get that, 55 to 60, but he hasn't really... Yeah, just not really going large, which is understandable. I mean, the Tigers just not really... I mean, compared to last week. I mean, they got 60-odd points and he didn't... He only got 39 points. He didn't really see any footy last week. But, I don't know, I'm probably leaning towards Bateman over Papali'i. So, I am torn. I'm very torn. I mean, Brendan Nakora, we sort of skipped over him, but... Yeah, I mean, again, he's been on fire, but I don't know. He scored so many tries. I'm just like, for how much is he? 700? For a bit over 100k cheaper, I can get Bateman, who is probably not as good, but I don't know. Nakora's not really hurting anyone. I mean, he went on an absolute tear here. 92, 81, 98. Then 54, 84, 87. And then regress. 58, 66, 84, 61. So, the games without tries, he's still getting 50 to 60, which is probably more than Bateman. Yeah, I think... Well, if we trade for feeder, I think it's out of Nakora or Bateman. And I'm pretty torn on who I would want. So... At this stage, Buller is my obvious trade, but now I'm stuck. Again, I don't actually need to trade if everyone backs up because I've got, I've got 17, right? I've got everyone here is playing. Grant, Fafita, Cleary, Holmes. Yeah, I've got bang on 17 players. Now, when do they all play? So, thankfully, Fafita plays on Saturday. So, we'll know Fafita. Unfortunately, if Fafita's ruled out, I can't bring in Bateman because he plays on the first Friday game. So, that's a little bit annoying. And also, it's probably prime for Bateman to go massive against the Raiders. Just, against his old team. Do you do it? Do you take the punt? Or do you just play it safe? Maybe just wait to see if Fafita gets named. If he doesn't, you can easily just bring in Brendan Nakora. Maybe. Interesting. Do I take the big gamble and just go Bateman early? I don't hate it. Because then if anyone else is ruled out... I mean, if Peachy's... Well... Yeah, I mean, if Peachy's ruled out, I'm sort of stuffed, I guess. Yeah. What could we do in that situation? There's not much we could do, honestly, because we can't even... We'd have to bring in a second rower. Yeah, we'd have to bring in a second rower, and I wouldn't really want any of the Dragons or Penrith second row forwards. So, yeah. I mean, I feel like he still gets a bench spot even if he's dropped. So, Yeah, I think that's okay. I think it's okay. So, well, I'll definitely I'll keep fucking tinkering. But Buller is the definite trade for Bird, and then either we trade Croker to maybe a Talakai, or we trade Fafita to someone, Nakora, Bateman, maybe. I don't know. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky, precarious situation, but I'll have to work that out. So vice captain and captaincy is a big week for it, and there's definitely some very good options. So at the moment, I think I'm leaning towards this: Cody Walker vice captain, Nico Hines captain. I just think that's pretty good. Although the only other one that I mean, Cody Walker against the Titans is so juicy. But, like, he was so dominant last week. He only got 68 points. No Latrell this week. I don't know. I actually think maybe Vice-Captain Hines, because they are taking on the Broncos. So you would expect Hines to want to come out and kill it. But it is the Broncos. It should be a tough game. So Vice-Captain Hines, and then just go captaincy on Manu. I mean, Manu playing 5'8" against the Dogs. 2 p.m. game Sunday. That seems pretty good. So I think actually that's what I'm going to do. I just, Cody Walker, obviously a really good shout, but I think I'd just rather go Hines and Manu. Cleary, obviously against the Dragons, is like, it's not an obvious captaincy choice, but after all the criticism, all the shit, like, if he doesn't get rested, he's probably going to come out and absolutely smash it. But it's just too risky to captain him, right? I mean, I guess you could just go, if you wanted to take the big gamble, you just go vice captain Manu and captaincy on Cleary, and then if Manu goes good or great, you can get a free loop, because if Cleary gets ruled out, then you're going to get the Manu loop anyway. So, you know what? I don't hate that. I actually don't hate that. Maybe that's what I'm leaning towards. I feel like Cleary and Hines could be fucking massive, though. It's such a tricky one to who's going to go better. I just feel like against the Dragons, like, Cleary, he's a guy that he's just, you can just feel it. You can just feel it coming, a massive score. But Hines as well, like, he fucking got embarrassed going out there in the final 10 minutes out in centre. So, yeah, and taking on a Queensland team, like, he's going to be fired up. Oh, that is a tough decision. I'm sort of liking the Manu vice-captain, Nathan Cleary captain at the moment, but we'll see. So I got another trade potentially to make, or we could save it. We could save the trade, but yeah, I think as it is now, that's okay. We might make another trade, and we got to work out if we go Manu vice captain, Cleary captain, or Nico vice captain, Manu captain. It's a tricky little thing. Hopefully we get better word of like who's going to get rest. I mean, if there's any sort of doubt about Cleary, then I'll probably just go the other way just in case Hines goes massive. But if they're saying Cleary is going to back up, then I think I'll do this. I think he can go bigger than Hines in this week, but he might not. You never know. But yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying the season thus far. Make sure to like and comment, and I'll see you in the next one.